Good morning, my dear friend. The day is just beginning. The sky is painted with soft hues of gold and rose, and the air still carries the hush of night. The world has not yet rushed in with its noise and demands. In this quiet sliver of time, before anything else is asked of you, you are here, and that matters more than you know. Somewhere in this vast world, a woman sits alone in her kitchen, hands trembling around a cup of untouched coffee. She has not slept. Her heart is heavy with things she cannot name out loud. The diagnosis, the letter, the silence from someone who once spoke every day. Her strength is thin, and the morning light does not feel warm to her. She wonders how she can begin again. What if this is the morning that breaks her, not makes her? Maybe today feels that way for you, too. Perhaps the weight of waiting has grown unbearable, or fear has lingered longer than it should. Maybe you have been faithful, but the answers have been slow. You have done all you knew to do, and yet something still feels missing. Delayed or out of reach. I want to tell you something simple, but true. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not beyond the reach of God's love. This very morning, He is near, closer than breath, softer than sorrow, stronger than every fear. Before you speak a word, He knows. And before you take a step, He has made a way. This is more than a prayer. It is a journey, not just through words, but through the deep places of the soul that long for clarity, comfort, and breakthrough. This space we are entering is sacred. It is not hurried. It does not demand perfection. It welcomes the brokenhearted and the hopeful alike. There will be moments along this path where you may feel exposed, as if your inner hesitations are being brought to light. Do not fear that, for God reveals not to shame, but to heal. He uncovers only to restore. You are being invited into a deeper kind of wholeness that is not dependent on circumstances, but rooted in truth. Faith is not the absence of questions. It is the choice to trust in the middle of them. And prayer is not performance. It is presence. This is your moment to be fully here, not to impress, but to receive, not to control, but to release, not to strive, but to align. So take a deep breath wherever you are. Let the stillness of this morning become the soil for something sacred to grow. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to feel strong. All that is needed is a willing heart and a posture of surrender. If your soul is weary, you are welcome. If your hope feels fragile, you are welcome. If your spirit is ready to rise again, you are welcome. Let us walk together now into a time of divine conversation. Let this be the morning you return to peace, to purpose, to the voice that has been calling you back all along. You are not alone here. God is already waiting. Dear Heavenly Father, as this morning begins, I come before you without strength to pretend or words to impress. I arrive carrying the weight of thoughts that kept me awake and fears that followed me into the light of a new day. My heart feels tired, not from lack of effort, but from long seasons of holding on. I confess that I wake up unsure of how to face what lies ahead. unsure of how to carry responsibilities that already feel heavier than my capacity. I need you now. Not later, not after I fix myself, but in this exact moment of weakness and uncertainty. Father, I feel worn on the inside. There are worries I have not spoken aloud and disappointments I have learned to hide. I have smiled when my spirit felt empty and moved forward when my soul wanted to stop. Today, I do not want to run from what I feel. I bring it honestly before you. I bring the exhaustion, the quiet fear, the unanswered questions, and the sadness I have tried to manage on my own. I am tired of carrying burdens alone and pretending that I am stronger than I am. This morning, I admit that I do not see the full picture. I do not understand the delays, or the silence has stretched longer than I expected. I have prayed before and waited before, and today the waiting feels heavier than hope. Yet even here, I choose to come to you. I choose to believe that you are present in this awareness and that you see me sitting in the middle of it. I ask you to meet me where I am, not where I think I should be. Lord, my soul feels like a flame running low on oil. I want to shine with trust, but feel flickering and unsteady. I need you to breathe gently on what remains. I need your closeness more than explanations, your peace more than answers. I lay down the pressure to understand everything right now. I lay down the urge to control outcomes that are beyond me. I surrender the tight grip I have held on my own strength. As this day opens, I ask you to steady my heart, quiet the noise that has crowded my thoughts, and soften the tension I carry in my body. Help me to rest in the truth that I am seen and known even in my weakness. Remind me that I do not need to earn your attention or prove my worth. I am here because you invited me. Father, if my faith feels small this morning, receive it as it is. If my hope feels fragile, hold it for me. I am not asking for everything to change at once. I am asking for enough light to take the next step and enough peace to breathe without fear. Let this morning become a place of honesty where I no longer hide my awareness from you. I open my heart to you now. I do not want to begin this day alone. I want to walk forward with you beside me, carrying what I cannot and restoring what feels depleted. Teach my tired soul to lean into you and to trust that even in weakness, you are already at work. Father, I acknowledge that part of my weariness comes from trying to be strong without asking for help. I have leaned on my own understanding and measured my days by what I could accomplish instead of by how deeply I remained connected to you. This morning I step away from that pattern. I release the belief that I must carry everything perfectly. I release the fear that slowing down will cause me to fall behind. I give you my rushing thoughts and the pressure that drives them. There are places in my heart that feel bruised from disappointment. Promises I hoped would unfold differently. Doors I expected to open that remained closed. I bring those memories to you without defense. I do not want to harden myself against hope or protect my heart by shutting it down. I ask you to keep my spirit tender even when life feels heavy. Guard me from bitterness and quiet despair. Replace them with patience and gentle trust. As the light of this morning grows, let it reach the hidden corners of my soul. Shine on the places I have avoided because they hurt too much to touch. I invite you into the fatigue I feel before the day has fully begun. I invite you into the questions that have no clear answers. I invite you into the uncertainty that makes me hesitate to move forward. Be present in all of it. Father, I need your strength to meet me before demands do. I need your peace to shape my responses before fear speaks. Set the tone of this day with your presence. Let my first awareness be that I am not abandoned and not alone. Teach me to receive your care without resistance and to trust that you are gentle with the weary. I place this morning in your hands. I offer you my tired thoughts, my heavy emotions, and my limited strength. I choose to begin here with honesty and dependence, believing that you are near and that this moment matters more than I realize. Let this be the place where my soul exhales and where my spirit finds quiet again before the day unfolds. I remain here with you, open and willing, trusting that you will carry me forward one breath at a time. I wait with you now. Stay with me as this day begins. I trust you. Here, Father, I did not leave your presence. I simply remained quiet for a moment. Not because I doubted you, because the silence felt heavier than the words I could find. But I know you are still here. I feel it in the stillness of this morning. The world has not yet fully awakened, and in this pause between breath and motion, I lift my voice not with clarity, but with honesty. I cry out to you not because I am strong, but because I cannot keep carrying the weight alone. There is something sacred about the hush before the day begins. Everything slows down enough to notice the H beneath the surface. Lord, I bring you that H, not polished or explained, but raw and trembling. I bring you the weight I have tried to ignore, the dreams that keep slipping further away, the tension in my chest that I cannot quite name. You see it, even when I do not. You know how long I have held things in. You know how many nights I have swallowed my fear just to make it through to morning. So here, before the noise returns, I cry not loud, but deep cry that rises from places I have not opened in a long time. I am not asking for a miracle I can touch. I am asking for something even more difficult to receive. Peace in the waiting, clarity in the midst of the blur, courage to keep going when nothing feels certain. There is a kind of cry that no one else hears, the one that happens inside, without sound, while the world keeps turning. But you hear it, God. You always have. I know this because you meet me here, in the in-between. You do not rush past my pain or shame me for not being stronger. Instead, you lean in. You gather what others overlook. You turn silence into sanctuary. I do not need all the answers this morning. I need to be reminded that you are near, that I am not speaking into emptiness, that this cry, quiet as it may be, is being carried into eternity. You said that those who call on your name will not be forsaken. I take you at your word, even when everything else feels uncertain. God, I cry out not just for myself, but for the part of me that still believes something beautiful can rise out of this brokenness. I cry for the child inside me that once dreamed without fear. I cry for the wearied adult who has seen too many detours. I cry for the version of me that still whispers prayers in the dark, even when they feel unanswered. I bring all of them to you. I do not want to become numb. I do not want to live guarded. I do not want to hide behind control and call it faith. I want to feel again, even if it costs me comfort. I want to love deeply, even if it risks disappointment. I want to walk with open hands, even if I lose what I once held tightly. Let this cry clear the way for something real. You are not intimidated by emotion. You are not shaken by desperation. You are moved by truth. So I offer you mine. I feel vulnerable as I open my soul in this way, but I trust you with my truth more than I trust silence with my sorrow. You are the one who collects tears and calls them holy, the one who hears what others miss, the one who responds not with thunder, but with tenderness. I confess that part of me expected to carry this pain alone. Part of me believed that crying out was weakness. But here, in this stillness, I feel the weight lifting, not because the situation has changed, but because I am no longer holding it in silence. You are sharing the burden with me, and that is more healing than I can explain. There is something sacred happening here. I can sense it. This is not just a release of emotion. It is a reawakening of trust. A reminder that even when I do not see movement, you are still listening. Even when I do not feel change, you are still working. Even when I do not understand, you are still good. Lord, do not let this cry go unanswered, not with results, but with presence. Let me know you are near, not just as an idea, but as a friend who stays, as a shepherd who finds the one who wandered, as a father who runs toward the child who collapsed mid-step. I do not need the storm to end this moment. I need you in the middle of it. Hold my heart steady while it cries. Speak softly into the places where words have failed. Surround me with your comfort in a way that no one else can. Let this cry become a song someday. But for now, let it simply be what it is, an offering. Not perfect, not poetic, but honest. I have nothing to prove to you. You are not asking for polished prayers. You are asking for access. And this morning, I give you access again into the parts of me that have been locked behind duty and numbness, into the corners where joy once lived, where now only fatigue remains. Come in and stay. Let this cry soften what has become hardened. Let it melt the layers of defense I have built. Let it remind me that my humanity is not a liability in your hands. It is the very place you meet me. And in this stillness, my soul is beginning to believe again. I may not know what today will hold. I may not know how long this season will last. But I know this: I am not crying into nothing. I am crying into the arms of the one who created me, the one who is not in a hurry, who is not ashamed of my struggle, and who calls even my broken voice beautiful. This cry, as quiet as it may be, is my way back to you, and I believe you are answering already, not with noise or drama, but with peace that goes deeper than my understanding. I receive it now. In faith, stay with me. I am still listening, God. Even now, as the quiet cry still echoes softly within me, I feel something beginning to shift. It is not loud or sudden, but it feels like the warmth of sunlight gently reaching through a window after days of shadow. Something inside me is remembering, not a memory I summoned, but one you placed deep within me long ago, a trace of your mercy, A moment you came through when I least expected it. A time when I thought I would break, but you held me together in silence. I find myself drawn to those moments again. Not because I want to relive the pain, but because in those places, I also remember your nearness. I remember how you showed up in ways that no one else saw. The door that opened just before the one I feared closed completely. The peace that arrived in the middle of a sleepless night. The strength I did not know I had until I found myself still standing. Those moments were not accidents. They were you. Father, I admit that in the middle of the waiting, I sometimes forget. I forget what you have already done. I forget that there were prayers I whispered in desperation, now answered so quietly they became my new normal. I forget that there were seasons I did not think I would survive, but here I am. I forget that grace is not always loud. Often, it arrives like dew, not rain. Subtle, gentle, present. Remind me now, God, of how far you have carried me. Remind me not with grand declarations, but with the tender truth that you have never left me. You were there when I was afraid to open the letter. You were there when the phone call never came. You were there when the hospital room felt like the end of something I loved. And somehow, through it all, you were steady. Your mercy held every shattered part of me and whispered that healing was still possible. Today, I do not ask for something new before I first acknowledge what you have already done. I refuse to treat your past faithfulness like a fading memory. It is my anchor. It is my evidence. It is my proof that you are not only capable but consistent. You are not only powerful but present. You are not only holy but near. I remember your mercy, not as a story I once believed, but as a truth that still lives in me now. When I could not find a way, you made one. When I felt too broken to pray, you listened to my silence. When I had no vision for the future, you held me through the fog. These memories are sacred. They remind me that you have always been kind. Even when I did not understand, you were kind. Even when I resisted, you were kind. Even when I doubted, you did not let go. Let that mercy speak louder than my fear today. Let it wrap around every place in me that still hesitates to believe again. I do not want to look back with regret. I want to look back and recognize the fingerprints of grace all over my journey. You have never abandoned me, and you will not start now. God, you are the one who sees what no one else sees, the tears behind the practiced smile, the ache beneath the daily routines, the prayers behind doors that never open. And even then, you show up, not always in the way I imagined, but always in the way I needed most. Your mercy does not expire. It does not grow tired. It does not forget me. It finds me again and again. I confess that I sometimes measure my hope based on what I can see in front of me. And when I see nothing moving, I assume nothing is happening. But that is not how you work. Your mercy does not require visible progress. It moves underground like roots growing in secret, preparing something steady and strong. So I choose to trust again, not because everything feels clear, but because you have been faithful before. I do not want to live from panic. I want to live from memory, not memory of pain, but memory of redemption. I want to start each day not with dread, but with reverence. Reverence for the God who lifted me up the last time I fell. Reverence for the one who refused to give up on me, even when I gave up on myself. Let this remembrance stir something new in me. Let it awaken a fresh expectation, not expectation based on formulas, but on relationship. I know you. I have seen what you do. I have felt what you heal. I have received what I never thought I could carry. And for all of that, I thank you, not just with words, but with willingness. Willingness to believe again, to pray again, to stand again. Father, if I am honest, I have walked through days where gratitude faded and entitlement crept in. Days when I expected more without cherishing what already was. Forgive me. I do not want to take lightly what once felt like a miracle. I want to live in awareness. Let that awareness soften me again. Teach me how to carry memory like a flame, not a weight, but a warmth. Let it guide my steps when the road feels uncertain. Let it light the way when doubt surrounds me. Let it remind me that mercy is not just something you gave once. It is who you are. You are mercy itself. I remember now the time when I thought I lost everything, and still, I woke up the next morning. I remember the season when my strength collapsed, but somehow I kept going. I remember when I whispered a prayer into the void, and days later, an unexpected kindness found me. These are not coincidences. They are glimpses of glory in everyday clothes. They are your mercy in motion. So today, I carry those memories with me, not to dwell on what was hard, but to remember what was holy. You were there. You are here. And because of that, I do not face this day alone. I do not pray into emptiness. I do not walk toward nothing. I walk with a heart that remembers, and remembering changes everything. Let what you have done become the ground I stand on. Let it be the song beneath my breath, the reason I keep showing up. Let your mercy be the reason I smile when the outcome is still uncertain. You have been too good for me to forget now. I remember, and because I remember, I trust, and because I trust, I move forward with open hands, steady steps, and a heart that knows you will never fail. Father, remembering your mercy draws me closer, and as I step into that closeness, I become aware of the places within me that have avoided your light. Not because you are harsh, but because I have been afraid to look honestly at myself. This morning, I do not want to hide. I stand here as I am, letting truth rise gently instead of being pushed away. I know that you already see everything, yet you wait for my heart to agree with what you see. There are thoughts I have entertained that did not reflect trust. There are reactions I justified instead of surrendering. There are moments when fear guided my decisions more than faith, and comfort mattered more than obedience. I acknowledge these things now without excuse. I am not listing failures to punish myself. I am naming them so they no longer control me in silence. Lord, I confess that I have carried pride disguised as independence. I have told myself I was being strong when I was actually refusing help. I have clung to control because it felt safer than trust. I see now how that posture weighed me down. I release it. I admit that I cannot manage life well without you shaping my inner responses. I need more than correction. I need cleansing. There are habits of thought that have grown familiar, even though they drain my peace. I replay conversations, imagine outcomes that never come, and protect myself with distance instead of honesty. I confess these patterns to you. They did not appear overnight, and I know they will not disappear instantly. But I open them to you now. I ask you to interrupt what I have normalized, but that no longer serves truth. God, I also confess the quiet resentment I allowed to settle in my heart, the disappointment I did not process fully, the comparisons I pretended were harmless. I see how these things clouded my vision and hardened my spirit. I do not want to carry them anymore. I place them before you, trusting that your forgiveness is not reluctant but ready. I admit that there were times I knew what was right yet delayed acting on it. I told myself I would respond later, when things felt easier or clearer. That delay created distance. I feel it now. I do not want that distance to remain. I turn my heart back toward you with intention, not just emotion. I choose responsiveness over hesitation. Father, if there are areas where I have become casual with what is sacred, reveal them gently. If I have treated your guidance as optional, soften my heart again. I do not want familiarity to dull reverence. I do not want routine to replace relationship. Restore in me a sense of awareness that stays alert to your presence. I bring you the words I spoke carelessly and the silence I used to avoid responsibility. I bring you the moments I defended myself instead of listening. I bring you the assumptions I made without seeking your wisdom. Nothing here surprises you. Still, I speak it because I want alignment, not avoidance. Lord, cleanse me where guilt lingers unnecessarily and correct me where change is needed. I receive your forgiveness not as a concept, but as a reality that reshapes me. Let it move through my thoughts and settle into my reactions. Let it free me from replaying what you have already released. I do not want to rush past this moment. Confession is not weakness. It is clarity. It allows me to stand in truth without fear of rejection. I trust that you are faithful to forgive and patient as you restore. I trust that bringing everything into your light is safer than keeping anything hidden. As the morning grows brighter, let my heart feel lighter, not because I have become perfect, but because I have become honest. I step forward now without masks or defenses. I allow your grace to shape me anew, believing that what you cleanse, you also strengthen. I remain here, open and willing, ready for whatever you desire to heal next. Lord, as I confess and begin to feel the release of hidden burdens, I find myself looking closely at the space between what I believe and what I live, the distance between knowing you are faithful and wondering why some prayers still feel unanswered. It is in that space I discover another layer I need to bring before you, not sin, not shame, but something subtler and harder to name. Delay, not the delay of heaven, but the delay within me. I sense how often I have slowed down the movement of grace without realizing it, not by rebellion, but by reluctance, not by denying you, but by hesitating just long enough for momentum to be lost. I have asked you for breakthrough while quietly holding back the part of me that needed to be fully surrendered for it to arrive. I see it now. I feel how that delay has shaped more than outcomes. It has shaped my posture. Father, I have mistaken patience for pause. I have confused waiting with avoidance. I have told myself that doors remained closed because you were holding them, when in truth, I had not fully stepped toward them. I know you do not shame me for this. Still, I want to bring it to the surface, because I long to walk without hindrance. I long to feel the full flow of your spirit through my responses. There have been moments where my heart wanted change, but my habits resisted it, where my lips prayed for newness, but my hands clung to the familiar. I did not mean to resist, but I did not fully yield either. I let fear dress itself as wisdom. I let comfort disguise itself as discernment. I delayed not because I doubted you, but because I doubted myself. I doubted I could really follow through, really endure, really let go. God, I see how that doubt became a quiet weight, not the kind that crushes suddenly, but the kind that settles in slowly, making movement harder, making joy feel distant, making peace feel like something for someone else. I want to set that weight down now. I want to name it for what it is, a hesitation that no longer serves me, a delay that has run its course. You have been speaking all along. The nudge to reach out, the whisper to change direction, the quiet urge to step out in faith. I heard you. I just kept saying, later, later, when I feel stronger, later, when it is safer, later, when I am less tired or more sure, but later kept stretching into never. And I do not want never to be the echo of what was meant to become new. So I ask you now to help me recognize every quiet resistance. Shine your light on the patterns that masquerade as pause. Show me where I have stood still while calling it waiting on you. Let me see the ways I have delayed out of fear of failure or fear of discomfort. I want to walk with you at your pace, not ahead, not behind, but in step. I do not blame the past. I do not blame my weakness. I do not blame circumstances. I take ownership of my hesitation and offer it to you not with shame, but with sincerity. I no longer want to live guarded. I no longer want to move with half-hearted obedience. I want my yes to be full. I want my trust to be visible. I want to respond with the kind of faith that does not need all the details to take the next step. Lord, if I have been asking for change while resisting the very process that would bring it, help me realign. If I have been praying for growth while refusing to let go of limits me, help me release. If I have been desiring clarity while ignoring your gentle instruction, help me remember that clarity often comes through obedience, not before it. You are not a God of confusion. You are not the one slowing down the good you want to do in my life. You are patient. Yes, but you are also purposeful. You are always moving forward. And when I feel stuck, it is not because you have stopped. It is often because I have stopped listening, or trusting, or believing that now could be the beginning. Let this morning be different. Let it be the moment where I stop making peace with delay. Let it be the moment where I say, yes, not someday, not when I am ready, but now. Even if my voice shakes, even if I still have questions, even if the outcome is unclear. I choose movement. I choose obedience. I choose to trust that what you begin, you also sustain. God, I know there is grace for every moment I hesitated. I know you have not turned away in frustration. I feel your invitation, still extended, still open, and I say yes. I say yes to the hard conversation I have avoided. I say yes to the step I have been afraid to take. I say yes to the healing I have resisted because I feared what it might require of me. I say yes to the alignment I have delayed. I ask you to clear out every old residue of delay that still lingers in my thoughts. Free me from the mindset that says it is too late. Remind me that obedience is always timely, always welcome, always possible. Remind me that movement is not about speed, but about direction. I only need to move with you, not perform for you. Today, I do not wait for a sign to begin. I already know the direction you are calling me toward. I feel it in the gentle stirring of conviction. I hear it in the quiet repetition of your voice. Always inviting, always urging me forward. And I want to follow not out of pressure, but out of desire. I want to step into what you have prepared with a heart that is no longer weighed down by delay. Let the weight lift. Let the fog clear. Courage grow in the space where fear once lingered. Let action replace hesitation. Let surrender replace analysis. Let love drive out the fear of what might go wrong. And let faith lead me into what is finally ready to go right. This is the turning point, not in circumstances, but in posture. I receive it as the moment where my yes becomes more than words. It becomes a movement toward peace, toward purpose, toward the fullness you always intended, and I go with you, without delay. Father, now that I have acknowledged the weight of my own delays, I see how many of them were built upon quiet walls I did not know I was constructing. Not walls made of rebellion, but of protection. Not defiance, but defense. And yet, they stand between me and the freedom I long for. I can feel them even now, those subtle barriers in my spirit, those guarded places in my heart that have become too familiar. I do not remember when the first brick was laid. Maybe it was the time I got hurt and did not fully heal. Maybe it was when I hoped and was let down. Or maybe it was when I gave my best and still came up short. Whatever the moment, I built something around that pain, not with intention, but out of survival. I told myself I was being wise, being strong, being prepared. But really, I was building distance. Lord, I do not want to keep living behind invisible walls. I do not want to keep love at a safe distance or filter hope through layers of fear. I do not want to treat peace like a visitor that comes and goes depending on circumstances. I want to live exposed to your presence, not shielded by my own self-preservation. I want to be soft again, open again, available again, not just to you, but to the life you have called me to live. I confess that I have guarded my emotions because I did not want to feel too much. I have guarded my expectations because I did not want to be disappointed. I have guarded my faith because I did not want to be seen as naive. But in all that guarding, I ended up cutting off the very flow I have been praying for. Walls may protect, but they also isolate. And I feel the loneliness of that isolation. God, help me tear them down, not in a rush, but in surrender, not by force, but by trust. Show me where the walls still stand, the ones built by old narratives, quiet vows, or misunderstood lessons. Show me where I have said, I will never let that happen again, and in doing so, locked you out of a part of my story. I want to welcome you and not keep you out. You are not coming to destroy me. You are coming to heal me. So I let down the wall I built around joy, because somewhere along the way I decided it was safer not to hope than to risk hoping and losing. I let down the wall I built around forgiveness, because holding on to control felt more comforting than trusting you with justice. I let down the wall I built around grief, because I thought naming the loss would give it too much power. But all it ever did was rob me of healing. Let your love be stronger than my resistance. Let your kindness dismantle what fear has erected. Let your truth contradict every lie that said, I had to do life alone. Let every wall come down not with shame, but with gentleness, not because I am forced to yield, but because I choose to be free. There are places in me that have not felt safe in a long time. Places I avoid when I pray. Thoughts I silence because I am afraid of what they will stir. But nothing is hidden from you. And if I believe you are good, then I must believe that you will be good even with the parts I have tried to bury. So I bring them now. The regret, the fear of failure, the bitterness that still lingers, the memories I wish were different, the shame I never put into words. You can have them all, not because I am done fighting, but because I am done hiding. I want nothing between us, not old beliefs, not broken boundaries, not buried guilt. Nothing. I want the space between us to be clear, open, sacred, and alive. I want to feel again, trust again, pray without pretense, hope without hesitation. Break down the wall that keeps me from receiving comfort. The wall that says I should be over it by now. The wall that whispers I am too much, or not enough, or too broken to be worthy of tenderness. Break down the wall that tells me to figure it out alone. That wall has kept me running in circles. You never asked me to do this without you. If I have built a wall by trying to protect my image, let it fall. I do not need to look strong. I need to be real. If I have built a wall with performance, let it fall. You do not need my perfection. You desire my presence. If I have built a wall out of disappointment in myself, let it fall. You do not measure me by my failures. You meet me in my need. Lord, I know that some walls will not crumble instantly, but this morning I choose to begin. I choose to lay down my tools. I choose to stop adding layers and start inviting light. Even a crack in the wall is enough for hope to slip in. Even one surrendered thought can shift the atmosphere inside me. And that is where it starts, not in a dramatic collapse, but in a quiet decision to stop hiding. I may still feel the impulse to retreat, but I will not obey it. I will stay present. I will let you see me. I will trust that what you see. You love what you love. You restore, and what you restore, you strengthen. I want that kind of strength, not the kind that hides pain, but the kind that walks through it with honesty and grace. You are not threatened by my vulnerability. You welcome it, so I come closer. Not perfectly, but wholeheartedly. Not because I have no fear, but because I no longer want fear to dictate my boundaries. I want your love to shape my capacity. I want your truth to define my safety. And I want your presence to be the home I return to when the world feels cold. Help me build altars where I once built walls. Let praise rise where silence once lived. Let trust grow where suspicion once ruled. Let compassion flourish where pride once stood guard. Transform what was meant for isolation into a sanctuary of communion with you. This is where the walls begin to come down, not by might, but by your spirit, not by striving, but by surrender. I breathe easier already. I feel the air of freedom beginning to move. I know you are doing something deeper than I can fully see, and I welcome it. Every layer that falls reveals more of the heart you created in me, and I am ready to live from that place again. Father, now that the walls have begun to come down, I feel exposed in a way I did not expect, but not exposed to judgment, exposed to possibility. As if in tearing down what once kept pain out, I have also made room for peace to enter. And yet, in this open space, there is another layer surfacing, something deeper I must confront. I feel the ache of control the way I have held on, planned around, and pressed forward with clenched fists instead of open hands. I did not mean to hold control so tightly. It crept in slowly, disguised as responsibility, masked as wisdom. I called it planning. I called it leadership. I even called it obedience at times. But now, in your presence, I recognize what it has truly been. A quiet resistance to surrender. A fear of losing footing. A belief, however unspoken, that if I loosened my grip, things would fall apart. Lord, I bring you that grip now. I open my hands, even as they tremble. I confess how often I have measured peace by how much I can manage, and not by how much I trust you. I confess the moments when I asked for your will, but secretly hoped you would align with mine. I confess that sometimes I have obeyed with conditions, willing to move, but only if the path was clear, the outcome secure, the cost reasonable. But you are not a God who invites half-hearted surrender. You are not looking for forced compliance or fearful agreement. You are calling me into freedom, the kind that only comes when I stop trying to direct everything and instead allow you to carry what was never mine to bear. This is where I let go, not of responsibility, but of the illusion that I am in control of more than I am. God, you are not asking me to give up stewardship. You are asking me to give up striving. You are not removing my voice. You are asking me to stop speaking over yours. You are not silencing my will. You are teaching me to yield it. Surrender is not weakness in your kingdom, it is wisdom. It is alignment. It is the doorway through which your power flows without resistance. I admit that part of me equates surrender with loss. Loss of identity, loss of direction, loss of safety. But the more I walk with you, the more I see that true surrender never leads to emptiness. It leads to rest. Not passivity, but rest. Not retreat, but trust. Not silence, but deep listening. So here, in this sacred morning space, I let go of what I cannot control. I let go of how people perceive me. I let go of needing to fix every problem before I bring it to you. I let go of timelines I have clung to, and expectations I have used as measures of success. I let go of the pressure to hold it all together. I offer you my fear of the unknown. I offer you my impulse to over-explain, overthink, and overextend. I offer you my tendency to plan every step before taking the first one. I offer you the parts of me that say, I must earn what you freely give. These are the things that keep me spinning, striving, and settling for control instead of connection. I know now that surrender is not the end of direction. It is the beginning of divine partnership. It is where I move with you instead of ahead of you. It is where I make space for peace to guide me. Not pressure. It is where I allow your strength to be made perfect in my weakness, not because I am lazy, because I finally believe that you are trustworthy with my path. Lord, if there is anything in me still resisting, make me aware, not to shame me, but to free me. If there is a door I keep locking out of fear, gently invite me to open it. If there is a dream I am forcing instead of offering, teach me how to release it. I want to live with hands open, not fists clenched. I want to walk with shoulders unburdened, not hunched by outcomes I cannot control. You know how to hold what I cannot. You know what is coming before I do. You know the right pace, the right timing, the right way. And though I may feel uncertainty, I choose to believe that I am safer in surrender than I ever was in control. Your plans are not just higher, they are better. And I do not need to understand everything to trust that. I surrender my need to feel prepared before I obey. I surrender my habit of waiting for clarity when you are asking for faith. I surrender my obsession with results when you are focused on obedience. I surrender the story I have written in my head in exchange for the one you are writing with your hands. And I choose to believe that what you write is always good. Help me now to breathe deeply, not as someone who has given up, but as someone who has finally given over. Let surrender become my rhythm, not my last resort. Let it be the space I return to when anxiety rises or fear whispers lies. Let it become the song I hum when I am unsure, the prayer I speak when I feel overwhelmed. You are not a distant God demanding submission. You are a loving Father inviting me to trust. And in that invitation, I feel something sacred unfold, a holy release, a divine reset. As I let go, I sense your nearness increasing. As I loosen my grip, I feel your hand covering mine. You are not asking me to do less. You are inviting me to walk lighter, trust deeper, and live fuller. So I surrender again, not for the last time, but for this time. And this time is enough. I do not need to promise forever. I only need to yield in this moment. That is where freedom lives, That is where intimacy deepens. That is where grace flows freely. And that is where I want to remain. This surrender is not a conclusion. It is a beginning. The beginning of peace that is not tied to certainty. The beginning of joy that is not dependent on perfection. The beginning of trust that does not require proof. And in this beginning, I rest not in what I hold, but in who holds me. Father, now that I have surrendered what I was never meant to carry, I feel a quiet clearing inside me, like space opening where clutter once lived. It is not empty, it is ready. Ready for something deeper than relief. Something fuller than release. What I long for now is alignment, not just peace in my emotions, but agreement in my spirit with the direction of your heart. I do not want to just let go. I want to take hold of what is true. I do not want to live reacting to pressure. I want to live responding to purpose. I want to walk not just in freedom from, but in fullness of. That is what alignment offers, not a life free of challenge, but a heart tuned to you in the middle of it all, a life that flows because it agrees with the source. Lord, if there is any part of me that still pulls in another direction, any voice that competes with yours, any loyalty divided between comfort and calling, let me feel it now, not to condemn me, but to call me deeper. I am not afraid of the truth. I am afraid of being out of rhythm with you. I know that you do not require perfection. You invite agreement, and that agreement is where alignment begins. So I ask you now to bring me into unity with your spirit. Let my thoughts come into line with what you think. Let my desires reflect what delights you. Let my instincts respond to your leading instead of reacting from fear or habit. Where I have been double-minded, make me whole. Where I have drifted into distraction, draw me back. I do not want to chase blessings while resisting your order. I do not want favor without formation. I do not want movement without meaning. I want to live the kind of life where my soul leans forward when you speak, where obedience is not a burden, but a natural expression of love. And I know that cannot happen if I only yield in parts. Alignment requires all of me, not in performance, but in posture. God, if I am walking in a direction that leads away from what you have designed for me, interrupt me with gentleness. Let conviction rise like morning light, not as a force, but as clarity. Let me feel where I am out of sync so I can step back into the flow. I do not need to understand everything to realign. I only need to say yes. Yes to your voice. Yes to your timing. Yes to the way you do things. Even when it stretches me. I lay down my preferences for how things should unfold, and I pick up trust. I release assumptions and re-enter relationship. I silence the noise that says I must figure it all out, and I tune into the stillness where you are already speaking. There is a peace that comes when I stop fighting the current of grace and start flowing with it. When I stop asking why it is not easier and start asking where you are working. When I stop begging for the map and start moving in step with your whisper. I want that peace not circumstantial, but foundational, not based on what I see, but based on who I follow. Father, realign my words. Let what I say reflect what you have said. Let me speak life where I used to speak doubt. Let me declare your promises over my day instead of repeating my fears. Let my language be shaped by heaven. not anxiety. Realign my focus. Where my eyes have lingered on problems, turn them again toward possibility. Where I have fixated on what is missing, remind me of what is already moving. Realign my time. Help me steward my energy around what matters to you, not what distracts me. Help me notice where I am being drained by things you never assigned me. Help me give my best yes to what you are breathing on. Let my schedule echo my surrender. Let my minutes tell the truth about my priorities. And realign my affections. If my heart has grown cold toward what used to move me, rekindle it. If I have tolerated patterns that dull my hunger for you, awaken me again. I want to desire what you desire. I want to want you more than I want outcomes. I want to treasure what you treasure, even if the world does not understand it. Let your alignment become my anchor. In confusion, I will return to agreement. In transition, I will return to agreement. In success, I will return to agreement. Let my heart beat with the rhythm of yours. Let my steps mirror the movement of your spirit. Let my life look like yes. If I ever drift again, draw me back not with fear, but with love, not with shame, but with invitation. Teach me to recognize when something in me is out of order, and instead of hiding, let me return. Let alignment be a daily practice, not a distant goal. Let it be the posture of my soul in the ordinary. In conversations, in choices, in silence, in storms. Lord, I believe alignment is where my authority begins, not authority over people, but authority over doubt, over confusion, over fear. When I am aligned with you, I do not have to force outcomes. I simply flow with what you have already ordained. My confidence does not come from my ability to control, but from your ability to lead. And you lead perfectly. You are not trying to make my life smaller. You are aligning it for expansion, for purpose, for peace. So I stop resisting the stretch. I stop fearing the correction. I welcome the realignment. Knowing does not mean I am lost. It means I am being loved. You do not leave me where I was. You call me where I belong, and you walk with me every step of the way. Let my mind rest in the safety of agreement. Let my heart settle into the steadiness of surrender. Let my body breathe with the release of striving. Let my spirit rise with the freedom of being right where you want me. This is the moment I stop chasing the wind and start catching the breath of God. This is the shift I have longed for, but did not know how to name. Alignment, quiet, simple, holy, enough. Father, resting in this alignment with you, I become aware of something subtle stirring within me. It is not loud, but it is clear. My heart, once guarded and tense, is beginning to soften. I feel it loosening its grip, releasing the tightness that came from years of bracing for impact. This softness does not feel weak. It feels alive. It feels like trust learning how to breathe again. For a long time, I thought a guarded heart was a wise heart. I believed that staying alert and cautious would keep me safe. But now I see how vigilance slowly turned into hardness. and hardness quietly limited my ability to receive. I did not close myself off because I wanted distance from you. I did it because I did not want to be disappointed again. Yet in protecting myself, I also dulled my sensitivity to your gentle leading. Lord, I ask you to continue this work of softening, not by force, but by patience, not by pressure, but by love. Melt what has become rigid, warm what has grown cold, awaken what has gone numb from carrying too much for too long. I do not want to live armored on the inside. I want to live responsive, able to feel conviction, compassion, and joy without fear. I notice now how resistance often hides behind familiarity. I grew used to certain reactions. I normalized defensiveness. I learned how to withdraw quickly when something touched a tender place. Over time, those habits shaped my heart more than I realized. They kept me functional, but not fully alive. I do not want that kind of survival anymore. I want renewal. God, soften my heart toward your voice. When you whisper, let me listen without suspicion. When you correct, let me receive without offense. When you invite, let me respond without delay. I do not want to second-guess your goodness or filter your guidance through old wounds. Teach my heart how to trust again, even when trust feels risky. Soften my heart toward others as well. Where disappointment taught me distance, teach me discernment without hardness. Where betrayal taught me caution, teach me wisdom without walls. I do not want to confuse boundaries with barriers. I want to love freely while staying rooted in truth. Shape my responses so they reflect grace, not fear. There are layers within me that have not felt safe in a long time. Places that flinch when hope draws near. Places that tense when joy begins to rise. I bring those places to you now. I do not want to silence them or rush them. I want to let you touch them gently, restoring sensitivity where I learned to shut down. Father, I recognize how a hardened heart resists change even when it longs for transformation. It asks for growth but recoils from discomfort. It prays for newness but clings to what is familiar. I do not want that contradiction living in me. I want my desires and my responses to agree. I want my prayers and my posture to match. So I release the need to protect myself from every possible outcome. I release the instinct to stay guarded as a default. I release the belief that vulnerability is unsafe. I choose to believe that in your presence, softness is strength, that a teachable heart is not fragile, but powerful. That openness allows you to move without obstruction. Let my heart become receptive again, receptive to correction, receptive to comfort, receptive to direction, receptive to joy. I do not want to skim the surface of life. I want to feel deeply, respond honestly, and remain tender even when circumstances are challenging. Keep my heart from becoming calloused by routine or disappointment. God, I know this softening is a process. It will take time. There may be moments when I retreat out of habit, when I feel the urge to close off again, when I mistake numbness for peace. In those moments, remind me of what this openness feels like. Remind me that this tenderness is not dangerous. It is where connection happens. I want to stay aware of my inner responses, aware of the subtle shifts in attitude, aware of when fear begins to harden what you are trying to heal. Teach me how to pause and return to softness instead of pushing through with force. Teach me how to choose humility over defensiveness, curiosity over judgment, trust over control. Let my heart remain flexible in your hands. Let it bend without breaking. Let it adapt without losing integrity. Let it stay sensitive to your spirit, even when the world demands toughness. I do not want to become unresponsive to what matters most. Father, as this day unfolds, keep my heart open, not naive, but receptive, not exposed to harm, but anchored in you. Let softness guide my decisions and shape my reactions. Let it become the soil where obedience grows naturally. Let it allow blessing to settle without resistance. I feel the difference already. Where tension once lived, there is space. Where suspicion lingered, there is quiet trust. Where fear held authority, peace is beginning to speak. I welcome this change. I choose to stay here, present and responsive, allowing you to continue shaping my heart moment by moment. This softened heart is not something I achieve. It is something I receive. And today, I receive it willingly, trusting that you know exactly how to keep it safe as you continue your work within me. Lord, as my heart grows softer in your presence, I begin to hear what I once overlooked. Not because you were silent, but because I was distracted. I see now that it is not always the noise around me that drowns you out. It is the noise within, the internal rushing, the analyzing, the running narrative that fills the quiet before you even have a chance to speak. But I want that to change. I want to become someone who listens, truly listens. Father, teach me the kind of listening that comes from stillness, not just silence. The kind that leans in with reverence, not restlessness. I do not want to listen only for instruction. I want to listen for connection, for tone, for heartbeat, for the subtle movements of your spirit that do not shout, but whisper. I want to hear you before I need answers. I want to know what you are saying before I ask what to do. I realize now how often I have come to you with more speaking than seeking. I have filled the air with requests, and when the echo did not come fast enough, I assumed you were far. But you are not absent. You are attentive. You are not withholding. You are waiting for space, for stillness, for agreement in my spirit. You do not compete for attention. You invite it. So I quiet myself now, not just in sound, but in posture. I let my thoughts slow down. I let my expectations fall away. I let go of the pressure to feel something dramatic. Instead, I create room for whatever you want to say, even if it is just to remind me that you are here. God, help me become sensitive to your presence again. I do not want to miss you simply because you spoke in a tone softer than my urgency. Help me discern when you are nudging, not just when you are declaring. Help me feel when you are grieving, not just when you are celebrating. Help me pause before reacting, so I can catch what you are communicating between the lines. Listening takes practice, and I admit I have become more practiced at planning, solving, fixing, and moving than I have it waiting. But I want to reverse that pattern. I want listening to become my default. I want to hear you in Scripture, not as a checklist, but as a conversation. I want to hear you in creation, in beauty, in simplicity. I want to hear you in the stillness of my soul where peace waits quietly for me to notice. Lord, give me ears that are trained not just by need, but by love. Let me listen without rushing to interpret. Let me sit with what you say without needing it to fit into my plans. Let me resist the urge to edit what I hear or doubt what feels too kind. Let me take you at your word and allow it to shape me before I shape it into something I can manage. You do not just speak in lightning bolts and thunder. You speak in patterns, in patience, in prompting, in a verse that repeats, in a name that comes to mind, in a burden that one lift until it is prayed through, in the gentle pause between thoughts, in the way peace settles on an idea, even when logic can explain it. Let me become fluent in the language of your presence. If I have dismissed your voice because it did not sound like I expected, forgive me. If I have overlooked confirmation because it came in quiet ways, make me more attentive. If I have asked you for direction but refused to slow down enough to hear it, help me begin again. I do not want to be led by noise, pressure, or convenience. I want to be led by your Spirit. God, help me hold space in my day to listen not just once, but throughout. Remind me that listening is not passive. It is the posture of the ready, the faithful, the available. And I want to live available to you. I want to catch your whispers in the middle of conversations, in traffic, in waiting rooms, at the sink, in the pause before sending the message, in the breath before reacting. Train my heart to know when it is you, not by formula, but by familiarity. I do not just want to know your commands, I want to know your cadence. I want to recognize when a thought is infused with heaven. I want to discern the difference between pressure and prompting, between impulse and inspiration, between fear masquerading as urgency and your Spirit inviting me deeper. Let listening become my worship. Let it be the way I honor you, not by assuming I already know what you want, but by inviting you to speak afresh each day. Let it become a habit that builds trust. Because the more I hear you, the more I believe you, and the more I believe you, the easier it becomes to obey not out of duty, but out of relationship. Father, I believe you are always speaking, not always in the way I expect, but always in the way I need. And today, I want to be the one who hears not just with ears, but with spirit, not just in quiet rooms, but in chaotic moments, not just for guidance, but for intimacy. Because to hear you is to know you, and knowing you is my greatest desire. So I listen now, not for instructions, not for comfort, just for you. I listen as an act of trust, as an act of surrender, as a declaration that you are worth waiting on, that your words are worth making room for, that your presence is worth tuning everything else out. Even in the absence of new direction, your voice brings life. It reminds me that I am not alone, that I am held, that I am seen. So let my life be marked not by how much I speak, but by how well I listen. Let others feel the residue of your words in the way I live, and let your whisper echo louder than anything the world could ever shout. Father, now that I have slowed down enough to truly listen, I realize how much noise I have been carrying, not just externally, but inside me. So many things competing for space in my thoughts, my decisions, my emotions. And not all of them are wrong, but not all of them belong. I can feel the need for something deeper, a reordering, a shift. I do not just need clarity. I need alignment in my priorities. God, you are showing me that what takes my time shapes my heart. What I give my focus to eventually forms my desires, and what I pursue, even silently, reveals what I believe matters most. I do not want to drift through my days, giving my best energy to what will not last. I do not want to give my full attention to things that offer no nourishment to my soul. I want to live with intention again, not driven by urgency, but by eternal value. So I ask you to help me discern where I have given too much, where my calendar tells a story that my spirit does not agree with, where I have said yes out of guilt, or fear of missing out, or because it was easier than disappointing someone. I do not want to live by reaction anymore. I want to live by revelation. Reveal to me what needs to move, shift, be released, or reclaimed. Father, I see how easy it is to stay busy and call it obedience, to stay productive and call it purpose. But business without alignment is just exhaustion dressed up as progress. And I have felt that exhaustion creeping in when I get to the end of the day and realize I was present for everything but not rooted in anything, when I completed tasks but neglected my soul. I do not want to keep repeating that cycle. Shift my priorities until they reflect what you value, not just in my work, but in my rest, not just in what I give, but in how I receive. Let me choose time with you, even when deadlines loom. Let me love the people in front of me, even when my to-do list is full. Let me honor quiet moments, even when the world is demanding noise. Let me be faithful with what you have placed in my hands, without being distracted by what was never mine to carry. Lord, if I have placed achievement above obedience, correct me. If I have let comfort push out conviction, interrupt me. If I have measured worth by productivity, dismantle that lie. And if I have ignored the gentle pull of your presence in favor of temporary satisfaction, bring me back to what truly sustains. I do not want to simply do more. I want to do what matters. I do not want to impress people while my spirit grows weary in secret. I want to please you with a life that is honest, undivided, anchored. Let that start with how I steward what I have been given, not just resources, but attention, affection, energy, and time. Father, show me the unseen idols that have quietly shaped my decisions, the subtle places where ambition has become identity, the roles I have performed in order to feel valuable. I no longer want to serve systems that starve my soul. I no longer want to make space for what drowns out your whisper. I want my life to be a sanctuary, not a storage room for demands that never end. Refocus me, God, where I have gotten blurry. Pull me back to the core. Remind me that joy is found not in constant acceleration, but in staying connected to what is true. Remind me that peace is not something I earn through efficiency, but something I receive through proximity to you. And remind me that legacy is not about applause, but about obedience. If I need to say no to good things in order to make room for God things, give me the courage to do so. If I need to pause when I want to push, let stillness be my strength. If I need to reevaluate my goals because they have been shaped by pressure instead of purpose, give me the clarity to release what no longer aligns. I trust you with the shift, even if it means disappointing expectations I once thought were essential. Even if it means missing out on what others are chasing. Even if it means slowing down when everything in me wants to stay busy. Because I believe you are not just rearranging my schedule, you are rescuing my focus. Lord, let my priorities reflect your presence. Let my decisions flow from devotion. Let my calendar align with calling, not chaos. Let my heart be more concerned with pleasing you than performing for anyone else. And let my life preach what my words alone never could. That intimacy with you is worth everything. This is a shift I did not know I needed, not in location, but in orientation. A shift from performing to abiding, from striving to trusting, from distraction to devotion. And I welcome it, not as a burden, but as an invitation back to the center. You are the center, not a line item, not an accessory, not an emergency call when things fall apart. You are the source, the anchor, the reason, and I want everything else in my life to orbit around that truth. So realign me, moment by moment, in the choices I make without thinking, in the routines I have never questioned, in the conversations I allow to shape me, in the voices I give authority to. Let nothing outrank your voice. Let nothing replace your place in my life. And when the day grows loud and full, remind me to return again, not just for comfort, but for clarity. Remind me that success without your presence is hollow, that full schedules without full hearts are dangerous, that doing more is not always better, and that peace is often found in what I release, not what I retain. Father, shift me again and again, as many times as it takes until my life no longer reflects the demands of the world, but the rhythm of your spirit. I do not want balance if it means compromise. I want alignment even when it costs me something I once thought I could not live without. Because if I have you, I am already rich. If I am walking with you, I am already home. And if my priorities reflect your heart, then I am already on the path that leads to life. Father, now that you have helped me reorder my priorities, I sense how much easier it is to breathe in your presence. There is a stillness where striving used to be. There is space where stress once crowded. But even now, I feel you gently inviting me deeper beyond just the rearrangement of what matters, into the surrender of how I respond. You are not only asking me to give you space, you are asking for access, full, unhindered, unrestricted access. God, I bring you my heart again, not just in word or intention, but in posture, I want to live with a heart that does not resist you. No barriers, no backup plans, no filters between your voice and my obedience. I want to become the kind of person who yields easily, not because I am weak, but because I trust you completely. It is easy to say yes when your way agrees with mine. It is easy to surrender when it looks like what I hoped. But what about when you lead me in a direction I did not ask for? What about when you disrupt what I carefully arranged? What about when your timing delays what I desperately want now? Those are the moments that reveal the layers of resistance I still carry. So I ask you now, Lord, show me the places where my surrender has limits, where my agreement has conditions, where I have said, I trust you, but only if, where I have prayed, have your way, but then braced myself for loss instead of expecting goodness. I do not want to live with hidden resistance. I want to live with wholehearted agreement. I have learned that resistance is not always loud. Sometimes it shows up in hesitation, in excuses, in distractions, in the subtle ways I avoid the quiet, because I already know what you are going to say. I have told myself I am just processing. But really, I am delaying. I have told myself I am waiting for clarity. But really, I am afraid of what surrender might cost. Father, I do not want to keep calling delay discernment. I do not want to keep calling control wisdom. I want to face the truth that sometimes the biggest thing standing in the way of peace is not the pressure outside of me, is the resistance inside. So here it is. I lay it before you, exposed and unguarded. I am not proud of it, but I am not afraid to let you see it, because I trust what you do with the parts of me I give you. You never crush surrender. You bless it. You never punish obedience. You pour into it. You never ignore yielded hearts. You meet them with presence. So I loosen my grip now on the way I thought things would go, on the outcomes I insisted on the rhythms I created to feel safe. I yield them all to you, not because I have given up, but because I finally believe that your way is not only higher, it is better. God, I want to live responsive, to hear and respond, to sense and follow, to receive without overanalyzing, to obey without rehearsing consequences, to trust you when the step is small and unseen, just as much as when it is big and public. Teach me to say yes without needing applause, to bow low even when no one else understands, to let you interrupt my patterns without resenting the pause. I know you are not asking for performance. You are asking for permission. Permission to lead fully, to shape deeply, to transform completely. And I give it now, even the unspoken places, even the pieces I have hidden behind spiritual words, even the tendencies I have inherited and justified. You have permission to change me, not just in behavior, but in desire. Soften my resistance to transformation. I know it is not easy. Sometimes change feels like loss before it feels like freedom, but I do not want comfort if it costs me closeness with you. I do not want ease if it means I am disconnected. I would rather be stretched in obedience than stagnant in safety. I would rather be raw and real with you than polished and numb without you. Lord, remind me that saying yes to you is not about knowing all the steps. It is about trusting the one who leads them. Remind me that even if surrender feels vulnerable, it is the most secure place I can stand. And remind me that what you ask of me, you also empower me to walk through. I am not alone in my yes. You are with me in every part of it. If there is any residue of rebellion still tucked away any place in my thinking that says, I know better, or I will handle it myself, bring it gently to the surface. I want T fight your touch. I want Ted explain it away. I want T defend what you are trying to dismantle. I will open the door and let you in. Fully. Freely. Finally. This is not just about surrendering in moments. It is about building a lifestyle that naturally agrees with you. A rhythm that bends in your direction. A soul that yields before it resists. I want my life to echo yes before I even speak it. I want obedience to be my default posture, not just a hard-won conclusion. I want to move with you, not just toward you. Father, train my heart to trust without a fight, to lean without second-guessing, to respond to your whisper the same way I would respond to a shout. Let my resistance dissolve into reverence. Let my hesitation be replaced by holy eagerness. Let me walk so closely with you that surrender feels like breathing. I know there will be days when resistance rises again, when fear creeps back, when my old need for control tries to retake ground. But even then, remind me of this place, this clarity, this freedom. Let me return quickly. Without shame, let me say, here I am, again, willing, open, yours, because what I have found in this posture is something I never knew I was missing. Not just peace, but presence. Not just freedom, but friendship. Not just clarity, but closeness. And for that, I will keep coming back. I will keep choosing surrender. I will keep opening every door. And I will keep saying yes, not once, but always. Not perfectly, but honestly. Not fearfully, but fully. Because you are worthy of a heart without resistance, and you are worthy of mine. Father, staying in this place of surrender, I begin to sense a new movement rising within me. It feels quieter than urgency and steadier than relief. It is gratitude taking shape, not as a polite response, but as a deep awareness. I see how every step that brought me here was carried by your patience. I notice how often you were working long before I recognized it. And my heart turns naturally toward thankfulness, not because everything is perfect, but because you have been faithful. Lord, I want to learn how to thank you with understanding, not just emotion. I want gratitude to flow from truth, not convenience. Thank you for staying with me through confusion. Thank you for waiting when I resisted. Thank you for speaking when I was too distracted to listen. Thank you for guarding me even when I wandered without realizing it. Thank you for correcting me without crushing me. Thank you for leading me back to center, again and again. I see now that gratitude is not a reaction to outcomes. It is a recognition of presence. I do not have to wait for resolution to give thanks. I do not have to wait for answers to acknowledge your goodness. I can thank you in the middle, in the process, in the becoming. Gratitude teaches my heart to stay aware of you, even when circumstances shift. God, I thank you for the unseen protection I never noticed, for doors that closed without explanation, for delays that saved me from harm, for quiet redirections that felt inconvenient but proved wise. I thank you for moments when my plans failed, because your purpose was unfolding in ways I could not yet see. I thank you for restraint, for boundaries, for limits that preserved me. Thank you for my breath this morning, for the steady rhythm of life moving through me, for the ability to feel, reflect, and respond. Thank you for a mind that can still be renewed and a heart that can still be softened. Thank you for grace that meets me daily, not based on performance, but on love. I realize how often I asked for more without noticing what I already had. I chased the next season while ignoring the gift of the present one. I do not want to live that way anymore. I want to cultivate awareness. I want to recognize your hand in ordinary moments, in routine, in simplicity, in quiet faithfulness. Father, thank you for every lesson that shaped me, even the difficult ones. Thank you for teaching me how to let go. Thank you for showing me the cost of control and the freedom of surrender. Thank you for exposing what needed healing, and for being patient while I learned to trust again. Thank you for not abandoning me when I misunderstood you. Thank you for staying consistent while I was inconsistent. I thank you for the people who have supported me, and for those who challenged me, for voices that encouraged and voices that refined, for relationships that lasted and for those that ended when they no longer aligned with truth. I thank you for teaching me discernment through experience and humility through correction. Lord, let gratitude become the language of my inner life. Let it shape how I speak, how I think, how I respond when fear tries to rise. Remind me of what you have already done when impatience creeps in. Remind me of how faithful you have been when comparison tempts me. Remind me that my journey is held by you. I do not want gratitude to be seasonal. I want it to be constant, not forced, but practiced, not shallow, but rooted. I want my heart to default to thankfulness because it has learned to recognize your fingerprints everywhere. Teach me to pause long enough to notice, to slow down enough to appreciate, to stay present enough to remember. Thank you for not rushing my growth. Thank you for working beneath the surface when nothing seemed to be happening. Thank you for strengthening my spirit even when my emotions lagged behind. Thank you for shaping my character when I was focused on comfort. Thank you for loving me too much to leave me unchanged. God, gratitude reorients my soul. It lifts my eyes from what is missing to what is meaningful. It quiets striving and restores peace. It reminds me that I am not alone in this journey. I am accompanied. I am guided. I am held. As this day continues, help me carry this awareness with me. Let thankfulness influence my interactions. Let it soften my tone. Let it anchor my confidence. Let it keep me grounded when the pace increases. Let it remind me of your nearness when distractions try to pull me away. I thank you not just for what you give, but for who you are. steady, kind, patient, faithful, present. I thank you for walking with me through every season, even when I did not recognize you, and I choose to stay aware now, awake to your goodness, rooted in appreciation, and open to what you will continue to do. This gratitude is not an ending. It is a foundation, a posture I want to live from, a lens I want to see through, a practice that keeps my heart aligned with truth. And as I continue forward, I do so with a thankful spirit, grounded in remembrance, and confident that you will continue to lead me with wisdom and care. Father, from this place of deep gratitude, something else begins to rise, a holy boldness, quiet but certain. I feel it moving beneath the surface like a current, steady and sure. Gratitude has reminded me of who you are. Now courage calls me to respond, not just with reverence, but with movement, not just with belief, but with obedience. Lord, I know that obedience is where trust becomes visible. It is where all the prayers and all the surrender take shape in real steps, real choices, real change. I have prayed to hear your voice. I have asked for alignment. I have laid down resistance. But now, the question before me is simple and sacred. Will I follow where you lead? Even when I do not feel ready, give me courage, not the kind that waits until fear disappears, but the kind that acts even when fear whispers, the kind that believes what you have said is more true than what I see, the kind that chooses faithfulness over comfort. I do not want to live with conviction and never apply it. I do not want to nod in agreement and fail to move. I want to walk out what I know with a heart fully yielded. God, I confess there have been times I knew what you asked, and I delayed, not because I did not love you, but because I let uncertainty speak louder than your promise. I replayed the what-ifs. I calculated the risks. I waited for signs that would remove all doubt. But now I see that courage is not found in knowing every step. It is found in knowing you. You are trustworthy. You are near. You are not setting me up to fail. You are inviting me into something that will stretch me, but also shape me. So help me say yes again, this time with action. Let my love be more than sentiment. Let it be seen in my willingness to follow wherever you go. If you ask me to speak when silence feels safer, help me speak. If you ask me to wait when everything in me wants to push, help me wait. If you ask me to go when I feel unqualified, help me go. I believe that obedience is not a performance for you. It is partnership with you. It is my way of joining the work you are already doing, and I want to join it fully. Father, I ask for courage to obey even when the fruit is not immediate, when results are slow, when progress feels invisible, when no one else sees the sacrifice. Let me obey because you are worthy, not because I am guaranteed a reward. Let me obey when it costs something, when it shifts my plans, when it interrupts my comfort, when it calls me higher than I think I can reach. There are decisions waiting on the other side of courage, conversations I have put off, steps I have ignored, ideas I have shelved, dreams I have dismissed as too hard, too late, or too big. But you are not limited by what intimidates me. You are not bound by the barriers I see, so I offer you my obedience not with reluctance, but with a steady heart, not with conditions, but with confidence in your faithfulness. Let my courage be rooted in truth, not in hype, not in pride, not in proving something to others, but in the quiet certainty that you are who you say you are, and you will do what you promised, even if I only see a portion of it now. I do not need every outcome. I just need the next step, and I trust that you will give it when I need it. Lord, make me brave in the unseen, brave in the waiting, brave in the obedience that looks small but means everything, brave in my integrity when no one is watching, brave in love when it is inconvenient, brave in forgiveness when it is undeserved, brave in generosity when it stretches my limits, brave in faith when logic says to quit. Courage does not mean the absence of trembling. It means trembling does not stop me. So even if my voice shakes, even if my hands are unsure, let me obey anyway. Let me say yes with my feet. Let me follow with joy. Let me be the kind of person who trusts you enough to move, even when it is hard. Thank you for not rushing me, but also for not letting me stay stuck. Thank you for being patient as I process, but also firm when it is time to go. Thank you for calling me beyond what is safe and into what is sacred. I know you are not asking for perfection. You are asking for willingness. And today, I am willing. If I falter, help me rise. If I forget, remind me. If I freeze, lead me gently. But more than anything, teach me to recognize the moment when courage is required and to take it. I do not want to live with the regret of disobedience. I want to live with the joy of partnership. Father, I know that obedience is not about outcomes. It is about alignment. It is about becoming who you made me to be. And I can become that person in theory. I must become that person in action. One step at a time. One yes at a time. So here I am again. Listening. Open. Ready. Not because I am fearless, but because I have decided that fear will not lead me. Let this courage shape how I live today. Let it influence what I say yes to and what I walk away from. Let it help me choose integrity over approval, purpose over distraction, surrender over control. Let it be quiet but unshakable, tender but unrelenting. Let it guide me into the unknown with trust. You are not sending me out alone. You are walking with me, and as long as you are near, I can obey, not just in word, but in motion, not just in moments of inspiration, but in the mundane, the ordinary, the everyday steps that no one sees but you. That is where courage lives. That is where obedience matters most, and that is where I want to stay. Father, as I walk forward in obedience, I find myself standing at the edge of places I cannot predict. Obedience has led me here not into clarity, but into deeper trust. I no longer fear surrender, but I still wrestle with what I cannot see. And yet, in this unknown, I feel your invitation again not to solve, but to stay close, not to understand, but to trust deeper. You are not calling me to map out the road. You are calling me to follow one step at a time. God, the unknown used to feel threatening. I used to resist what I could not prepare for. I used to grasp for control the moment I felt the ground shift. But now, I am beginning to see the unknown not as an enemy, but as sacred space, a space where faith becomes real. Not theoretical, a space where I am stretched but never abandoned, a space where I am remade, not because I planned it, but because you led me into it. So I release the demand to know every detail. I let go of needing certainty before I say yes. I trade the illusion of control for the substance of presence. I will not panic when the future feels hidden. I will remember that nothing is hidden from you. What is unknown to me is already covered by you, and that is enough. Father, help me stay present when I want to rush ahead. Help me resist the temptation to fill in the blanks with worry. Help me choose stillness over speculation. You have not asked me to write the ending. You have asked me to trust you with the next line, and I want to write it with courage, with grace, with faith that rests even in mystery. You have shown me that the unknown is not empty. It is full of you. It is the place where you go before me, where you prepare what I cannot yet handle, where you stretch my roots deeper while I wait for what is next to bloom. And even now, I sense that this place is not a pause, it is part of the plan. It is not wasted space. It is where I am learning how to walk by faith, not by sight. Lord, help me loosen my grip on my timelines, on my projections, on my ideas of what should be happening by now. I do not want to measure progress by what I can see. I want to measure it by my growing awareness of you. If I can hear you clearer today than I did yesterday, I am moving forward. If my heart is more willing than it once was, I am not stuck. I am being shaped. Thank you for not giving me everything at once. Thank you for the gift of pace, for the kindness of not overwhelming me with more than I can carry, for the wisdom of letting me discover peace even when answers are delayed. I used to think clarity was the reward, but now I see that closeness is, and I want to value your nearness more than I value certainty. God, if the path ahead requires me to let go of what feels familiar, help me release it with grace. If it leads me through seasons of discomfort, help me remember that stretching is not punishment, it is preparation. I want to be faithful in unfamiliar places. I want to stay soft even when I am unsure. I want to remain hopeful even when I do not have the full picture. Let my faith be active in the unknown. Let it not just survive uncertainty, but thrive within it. Let it speak peace to my questions. Let it anchor my emotions. Let it steady my pace when I am tempted to run ahead. You have never asked me to figure everything out. You have asked me to walk with you, and that is a request I can always answer. Lord, there are parts of me that still whisper, what if it does not work? What if I heard wrong? What if I am not enough for what is coming? But even as those questions surface, I know they are not stronger than your truth. You are enough. Your grace covers what I lack. Your voice clarifies when I get confused. Your presence steadies me when my footing wavers. So instead of asking, what if it fails? I ask, what if you move in ways I never expected? What if this waiting is preparation for something far beyond what I could ask for? What if the discomfort is birthing a deeper strength in me? What if the unknown is not the absence of direction, but the fullness of your presence yet to be revealed. Help me lean into that possibility, God. Help me stay curious instead of fearful. Help me explore what you are doing instead of retreating into assumptions. Let me wake up each day with wonder instead of worry. I want to be open, teachable, ready, even if the path is winding. I trust that it is holy. Father, help me become more flexible in your hands, more willing to pivot when you say shift, more patient when you say wait, more joyful when you say stay. I want to be shaped by your rhythm, not pressured by my expectations. Let every unknown place become an altar of trust, a place where I remember you met me even when I did not know what would happen next. And when the day grows long and uncertainty begins to cloud my mind again, remind me of what I know for sure. You are good. You are present. You are leading me. And none of this is wasted. Even here, in the in-between, you are writing something beautiful. Let this become my posture in the unknown, not panic, but peace. Not striving, but surrender. Not fear, but expectancy. Let me see this season not as a detour, but as a divine opportunity to deepen my reliance on you. Because even when I do not know where I am going, I know who I am going with, and that will always be enough. Lord, as I continue forward into the unknown with courage, I find myself confronted not with the need to do more, but the deeper invitation to rest, not the kind of rest that comes from escaping responsibility, but the kind that lives even in the middle of movement, a rest that is rooted in trust, a stillness that does not require still circumstances, a calm that is not a pause from faith, but the result of it. Father, I confess that rest has not come naturally to me. For so long, I equated it with inactivity, with delay, with losing ground. I thought rest meant falling behind. But you are teaching me something different, something sacred, that rest is not a step away from purpose, but an act of surrender within it. That rest is not weakness, but worship. That rest is what happens when I finally believe I am held. I am learning now that rest is not something I earn. It is something I receive. And I receive it not when everything is finished, but when I decide to stop striving, when I stop measuring my worth by what I produce, when I stop pushing past limits you never asked me to exceed. When I allow you to be God, and myself to simply be your child. Lord, I have carried more than I was meant to, not always out of rebellion, but out of habit, out of the desire to do well, out of fear of disappointing others. But I see now that carrying more does not make me more faithful. It just makes me more fatigued, and faithfulness looks like trusting you with the parts I cannot control. Faithfulness looks like rest. So here I am, once again, asking you to help me let go. Help me release the pace I thought I had to maintain. Help me quiet the inner voice that says I must always do more, be more, produce more to be enough. Your word reminds me that you give rest to those you love, not as a prize for effort, but as a gift of grace. Let me enter into that rest now, not as a retreat from calling, but as a return to center. Let my spirit settle into the truth that you are working, even when I am still, that you are holding the pieces even when I put them down, that you are faithful to complete what you begin, and that I am not the one sustaining everything, I am the one sustained. Father, if there is a rhythm you have designed for my life, I want to find it, a rhythm that includes space, breath, margin. I do not want to live at the edge of burnout, constantly pouring without being replenished. I want to move with your spirit, not run ahead of it. I want to build and rest as reverence, not as reward. Teach me how to rest without guilt, without the nagging sense that I should be doing something else. Teach me how to sit in silence and receive, not because I have earned a break, but because I belong to you. You do not call me to exhaustion. You call me to abiding, and abiding is where fruit grows, not from force, but from flow. Let rest renew my vision. Let it clear away the clutter in my mind. Let it bring peace to places still swirling with uncertainty. I do not need every answer to exhale. I just need the awareness that you are with me, that you are not impatient, that you are not measuring me by my pace, but by my proximity. God, I welcome the sacred pause, the kind that reminds me I am not in control, the kind that realigns my motives, the kind that restores wonder. I want to enjoy you again, not just serve you. I want to be with you, not just work for you. Rest allows room for that relationship to deepen, and that is the part of life I never want to neglect. Thank you for modeling rest not as a retreat from power, but as an expression of confidence. You rested not because you were tired, but because the work was good, finished, sufficient. Help me carry that same posture into my own days, to know when to act and when to pause, to know when to speak and when to listen, to know that enough is often quieter than more. If I have made an idol out of business, break it. If I have used activity to avoid reflection, interrupt it. If I have kept going out of fear of what might surface when I stop, meet me there with gentleness. You are not afraid of my stillness. You are not ashamed of my need. You are not waiting for me to prove anything. You are inviting me to rest and be renewed. And in this rest, let healing rise, in my body, in my thoughts, in the places I have ignored too long. Let me feel again not just the pressure, but the presence. Let me notice the beauty in small things, the holiness in quiet moments, the gift of peace that does not shout, but whispers, I am with you, always. Let me become familiar with this rhythm, not as an interruption to progress, but as its foundation. Let me be marked by a quiet confidence that comes not from what I have done, but from who I belong to. Let my life tell the story that rest is not failure, it is faith, and it is in faith that I want to remain. So, Father, I give you my tired places, my worn-out thoughts, my heavy expectations. I lay them down not because I am quitting, but because I am learning to be carried. I trust you with the pieces I can manage. I trust you with the outcomes I cannot predict. And I trust you to restore what has been drained in my effort to be everything for everyone. I am not everything, but I am yours. And because I am yours, I can rest, not in escape, but in embrace, not in isolation, but in intimacy. not in defeat, but in dependence. And from that place, I know you will call me forward again, refreshed, realigned, ready, but for now, I rest with intention, with trust, with peace. Father, resting in the quiet you have given me, I begin to feel something stirring again. Not urgency, not pressure, but strength returning in a new form. It is not the sharp energy of adrenaline or the forced motivation I once relied on. It is deeper than that. It feels steady, grounded, and patient. This strength does not push me forward. It rises within me, calmly reminding me that I am not empty, not depleted, not forgotten. Lord, I recognize now that true strength does not come from effort alone. It comes from being restored by you. When I was striving, my strength burned quickly. When I was anxious, my resolve fractured. But in rest, you have been rebuilding me quietly, layer by layer. I feel it now, not as excitement, but as endurance, the kind of strength that lasts. I thank you for teaching me that renewal is not dramatic. It does not always arrive with emotion or intensity. Sometimes it comes as clarity, sometimes as calm, sometimes as the simple realization that I can stand again without forcing myself. This strength feels different. It does not depend on circumstances improving. It depends on you sustaining me from within. God, strengthen my inner life, not just my ability to act, but my ability to remain faithful over time. Strengthen my patience when answers take longer than expected. Strengthen my resolve when obedience feels repetitive and unseen. Strengthen my compassion when I am tired of giving. Strengthen my hope when progress feels slow. Let my strength be rooted in your presence, not in my performance. I see now how often I tried to borrow strength from the future. I told myself I would feel better once things changed, once prayers were answered, once conditions improved. But you are teaching me that strength is available now, that I do not have to wait for everything to align in order to be sustained. You are my source in the present moment, not just my hope for what comes next. Father, I ask you to renew my mind as you renew my strength. Where discouragement left residue, wash it away. Where disappointment shaped my expectations, realign them with truth. Where fear weakened my confidence, replace it with quiet assurance. I do not need to feel invincible. I need to feel anchored. And that is what you are giving me. This strength does not shout. It does not rush. It does not demand recognition. It simply holds. It allows me to face the day without dread. It allows me to show up without forcing myself. It allows me to engage without losing myself. This is the kind of strength I want to carry forward, because it is sustainable and it is holy. Lord, if challenges arise today, help me meet them from this place, not from panic or pressure. If demands increase, help me respond without abandoning peace. If fatigue returns, remind me that renewal is ongoing, not a single moment. I do not have to store up strength in fear of losing it. You replenish continually. Your supply does not run out. God, Strengthen my spirit to remain steady when emotions fluctuate. Strengthen my will to remain obedient even when motivation fades. Strengthen my heart to remain tender without becoming fragile. I want resilience that is shaped by trust, not hardness. I want perseverance that flows from intimacy, not obligation. I acknowledge now that weakness is not something to escape. It is often the doorway to deeper strength. When I admit my limits, you meet me there. When I stop pretending, you begin restoring. When I let go of appearances, you build something real. I no longer fear being weak, because I know where my strength comes from. Father, let this renewed strength guide my steps today. Let it influence my pace, my tone, my decisions. Let it keep me grounded when things move quickly and calm, when things slow down. Let it remind me that I do not have to react to everything. I can respond with wisdom because you are steadying me from within. I trust you to continue this work. I do not need to rush the process. I do not need to test my limits to prove anything. I simply need to remain connected. Strength flows naturally from connection. And I choose connection again, moment by moment. As I move forward, I carry this quiet confidence with me. Not confidence in myself, but confidence in you. Confidence that you are with me, that you are equipping me, that you are renewing me even when I am not aware of it. This strength is not fragile. It is not dependent on feeling good. It is grounded in truth. Thank you for restoring what was worn down. Thank you for rebuilding what was strained. Thank you for renewing what felt exhausted. I receive this strength with humility, knowing it is a gift, not an achievement. And I will walk today not trying to prove it, but trusting it. Father, I step into this day renewed, not because everything is easy, but because you are faithful. I carry forward with steadiness, clarity, and endurance. This strength will hold me, and when it wanes, you will replenish it again. I do not fear the day ahead. I face it grounded in you, strengthened from within, and quietly confident that you will sustain me through every moment. Father, as this journey draws gently to its final pages, I do not feel an ending, I feel a return to stillness, a return to the quiet knowing that I was never alone, that through every rise and fall, every question and surrender, every silence and song, you were here, not watching from a distance, but walking beside me, within me, before me. Lord, these prayers have not been a performance. They have been a reaching out, a leaning in, a daily unwrapping of what I have carried for far too long. I have placed burdens in your hands. I have given you my fears, my delays, my false strength, my fragile hope. And with each surrender, you gave me something better, not always what I asked for, but always what I needed. You never asked me to be perfect. You asked me to be present, to show up with my whole self unfinished, uncertain, yet willing. And you met me there, in the moments of soft confession, in the pauses between words, in the aching silence where answers did not come, but peace quietly did. God, I thank you for this sacred rhythm, for the way your Spirit met me again and again each morning, not with demands, but with invitation to come, to rest, to be still and know. In a world that never stops, you have taught me how to stop striving. You have taught me how to breathe without fear, how to walk without rushing, how to pray without performing. Each chapter has been a mirror. Each word has been a turning. Slowly, gently, you led me back to my own heart. And there, you met me again, not to fix, but to dwell, not to correct, but to commune. You were never waiting on my perfection, only on my permission to let you in. Even now, Father, I do not feel finished. I feel opened, softened, recentered. And perhaps that is the real miracle, that in a world built on accomplishments, you build your kingdom through surrender, through hearts made tender, through faith that whispers yes, even in the dark. So I do not close this book with a conclusion. I close it with continuation. This is not the last prayer, it is simply another beginning. Another morning where I wake up and remember that mercy is new. Not because I have earned it, but because you are endlessly generous. Lord, help me carry what I have received. Let this not be a fleeting moment, but a reorientation of my life. Let these prayers become posture. Let gratitude become habit. Let surrender become instinct. Let rest become rhythm. Let listening become my daily language. And as I return to the ordinary patterns of my days, let them be marked with the extraordinary awareness that you are near, in the conversations, in the silence, in the laughter, in the work, in the waiting. Let my heart return to you with every breath, not out of duty, but delight. Thank you for the quiet breakthroughs, for the slow healing, for the invisible shaping that happened in the hidden place. I do not need applause to know transformation took place. I feel it in how I pause now instead of panic. I feel it in how I ask instead of assume. I feel it in the new way I see light breaking through the cracks of ordinary things. I know that new storms may come, questions may rise again. Some mornings may feel heavier than others, but I am not the same, because you have changed what I carry and how I carry it, and even more, you have changed who I walk with. I walk with you, and that changes everything. Lord, may these words echo in their hearts of those who prayed them with me. May each person feel less alone. May they know they are held. May they remember that they do not have to have all the answers to be deeply loved. Let them carry these truths like a gentle firelight in the quiet of their own days. And if they forget, bring them back here, to this prayer, to this space, to this moment where they knew, maybe even just for a few breaths, that peace was possible, that their spirit could be heard, that their voice mattered, that their presence was enough. Thank you for each soul who made it here, for every heart that lingered, for every eye that reads slowly, letting the words become their own, for every moment of quiet that settled like dew in the morning. I honor the tenderness it takes to come this far. I honor the unseen strength of simply staying. To you, dear listener, thank you for walking this path. Thank you for giving your soul permission to slow down, to feel, to open, to hope again. Whether you whispered every word or simply breathed through the silence, you were here. And that mattered more than you know. If your heart was moved, if your spirit was lifted, I invite you to share your reflections, your prayers, your journey in the comments below. Your voice may be the encouragement someone else needs today. And if this time together has nourished you, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel so you never miss another morning of renewal. Share this video with someone who might need this same sacred pause. Carry this rhythm into your days. Let your life become a quiet echo of what was prayed here. Keep the flame of faith alive, not through pressure, but through presence. May your mornings be soft with promise. May your nights be wrapped in peace. May your soul find rest again and again in the one who holds you. And as the first light of day touches the edge of your window, may it remind you that grace always rises, that hope never sleeps, that love is already near like the morning breeze, like the hush of dawn, like living water that flows without end.